When we have good understanding, when we have the eyes to see and the ears to hear, how do our 5 physical senses work? Well, they work wonderfully. Now, how about when we are blind to our shortcomings, when we don't listen or hear what's being said to us? What happens then? Well, now we may develop some difficulties with our eyes or ears or our other physical senses. Let me tell you about a man that I'm going to call Jim. Jim was bright, intelligent, and insightful, but he had a tendency to be critical and judgmental, to think that he knew more than other people did. He was always right. And as a result, Jim felt like he did not see eye to eye with his boss about much of anything. Of course, Jim thought it was his boss who had all of the problems, when in reality, Jim was blind to his own critical and uncooperative nature. Sure enough, Jim started having some eye problems. First, it felt like he had something like grit in his eyes, although nothing was really there. And finally, he developed an infection of the lining of his right eye, which is called conjunctivitis. So he went to see his eye doctor, who gave him some medication. When Jim got home that night, he immediately picked up his personal journal, and he started reading to see if he could gain some new insight as to why he had developed this eye problem. For a couple of years in his journal, he had written down his key thoughts and ideas, things that he had read that had inspired him. He also had written as a way to work through his frustrations about his boss and other people, and he had recorded many of his dreams. Now, as he read back over the last year's entries, it became clear to him that he had been critical and judgmental, had felt superior, had not used his understanding to be helpful and cooperative and a team member. The most obvious indication of this was in 2 dreams. In one of them, he was talking with his boss, but he was wearing eyeglasses with very thick lenses, so thick that he could hardly see through them. And in a second dream, he was wearing glasses again, but this time they had broken lenses. Here it was, right in his dreams, the obvious symbol of his problems with seeing clearly. Once he had realized this, Jim made the necessary changes in the way that he looked at and he analyzed things at work. He had 2 long talks with his boss to clear the air and to come to a mutual understanding of how they could work better together. And then his eye symptoms disappeared. Keeping a journal is something that we all can do to help us in our self-analysis, to help us become more insightful and understanding. Recording and working with our dreams often gives us a new awareness of things that we did not consciously understand at the time that we have the dreams. When we read through several months' entries in our journal, we often see patterns that had not been clear to us previously. We have some new insight, some new comprehension about ourselves. And then, for that moment, we can say, aha, now I understand.